how to start drawing the vector diagram. Has anybody gone through my basic electrical lecture sessions which are available in my channel YouTube with respect to RC circuits, RL circuits? There I explained how to draw the vector diagram. Okay. If not, please go through them. Don't feel shy going back to the basic classes and learning those things, because how to draw vector diagram is the key point to know for every electrical engineer. Okay. Vector diagram are drawn with some thumb rules. There are certain thumb rules to draw vector diagram. Always to draw a vector diagram, there should be one reference vector with respect to which I draw everything. Okay, and please don't try to by heart vector diagrams, which you will fail. Okay, if you do so. Now the question is, which should be the reference vector? That is very much important. Recognizing the reference vector is important. Generally, which should be the reference vector? Now if I take a series circuit, okay, let this be RL circuit. Okay, I will not draw for this. Okay, so here this is E, this is I, R, L, ER, EL. I will draw vector diagram to get this vector E is equals to ER plus EL. I want this condition. Okay, from vector diagram I will get this. So I will draw okay, R, L, R2, C. Okay, now I have two circuits. First I should understand why I have to draw vector diagram. Okay, the very first reason why I should draw vector diagram is all the alternating quantities what I use in my calculations are assumed to be vectors. Those are not scalars, because we are dealing with sinusoidal voltages and currents, and sinusoids are having both positive values and negative values. Therefore, those have both magnitude as well as direction. A quantity having magnitude and direction is called a vector. So if I want to add two voltages in AC circuit, I have to add with respect to magnitude and with respect to direction. So it means that if I represent both the voltages as vectors, if I add those two vectors, I get the resultant voltage. Okay, same is with currents, same is with fluxes, but not power. Power is a scalar. Okay, I don't add power vectorially. Power is always added algebraically. It is scalar. Okay. Now I want to draw vector diagram here. I want to draw vector diagram for this circuit. What for I should draw the vector diagram? So in my electric circuit, I always draw the vector diagram to obtain the phasor relations between various quantities. Now suppose I want to know what is the phase angle of this current with respect to voltage. Then I should draw the vector diagram to get the resultant current and resultant voltage. Resultant current is only one, I, is same in R as well as L, but E is different in R and L. So I will be getting one vector of current, two vectors of voltage, one resultant vector of voltage. So in this vector diagram, I get one vector of current, three vectors of voltages. Getting my point? I get one vector of current, three vectors of voltages, because I want resultant. So E is equal to ER plus EL. Sorry, ER plus EL. Okay. In this case, now again I want the relation between phasor relation between E and I. Now I want resultant voltage and resultant current. What is the voltage across RL branch? It is E. Voltage across RC branch? It is E. Okay. What is the value of current I? It is the sum of currents in each branch, I1, I2. So I get here one vector of voltage, three vectors of current, provided if I don't want to add the voltage across this. And let us not complicate that. Okay. Then to start drawing vector diagram, I should take one reference vector. What is that reference vector should be? As a thumb rule of vector diagram, reference vector should be a vector representing that quantity in the circuit which is remaining common in all the components. Getting my point? The reference vector in any electric circuit should be representing that quantity which is remaining common in all the components. In series circuit, current is remaining common in all the components, hence reference vector is current. In series circuit, reference vector is current. In parallel circuit, voltage across each branch is common. Voltage across each branch is common. Therefore, in parallel circuit, reference vector is voltage. Reference vector is voltage. If there is combination, suppose you take AC bridges, neither it is series nor it is parallel. It is combination of series and parallel. Is it? So there you have to consider the balanced condition of the bridge, under balanced condition of the bridge, which is the quantity remaining common. You should take that as a reference, which you already did in all Maxwell's bridges, sharing bridges, and all the bridges what you have studied in measurements. Okay, so bridges are the best circuits to know about vector diagrams. You simply go and observe the vector diagrams for the bridges, try to analyze the vector diagrams, why it is drawn at that particular position, and try to analyze every vector, the position of every vector and relation of every vector with respect to other vectors. You will never forget the concept of drawing vector diagram in your life. So bridges are the excellent circuits to understand the drawing of vector diagrams. This is how I understood. Okay, the drawing of vector diagrams. Now in case of induction motor and transformer, what is common? Because there are two circuits which are both series. Okay, so the common quantity in induction motor and the transformer is flux. The flux is common for both primary and secondary, stator and rotor. So my reference vector in induction motor and transformer will be flux. But flux will not obtain directly. That flux vector is not obtained directly. Okay, I will draw the vector diagram at no load condition for induction motor. I know this is little bit getting lengthened, okay, elongated, but I believe this will help you. Okay, because certain things are not to be covered in a hurried manner. Okay, those should be understood. Now I know that there is a three-phase induction motor to which I give the stator supply. Okay, I have the stator RYB, let it be V1 or let it be Vs or V1 only. Let it be V1. I give to this stator, I give supply. Let us take the case rotor. Because it is easy to draw, I draw this. Okay. Now I will apply V1 to the stator. So let this vector represent V1. Okay. Now draw the equivalent circuit of induction motor. So this is R1, X1, R2, X2, R0, X0, V1. Okay, and this is load, electrical equivalent of mechanical load. Okay, it is generally 1 by S into ZL or something like that. Okay, I don't exactly remember. I should not make a wrong statement. Let us take this as load. I am not interested what load it is. It is a mechanical load. Okay. So this is not the core. There is an air core. Okay. Now I apply V1. At no load condition, current I0 is drawn. So at no load condition, this part of the circuit will not come into picture. So current drawn by the load is I0. Sorry, current drawn by the motor is I0. Okay. Because the stator winding is very highly inductive, the angle between I0 and V1 will be nearly 90 degrees. Okay. The angle between V1 and I0 is nearly 90 degrees. Okay. And this is called phi naught. So this angle is called phi naught. This is phi naught, no load power factor angle of the motor, which is nearly 90 degrees. Now I can resolve this vector into two vectors, horizontal and vertical. Okay. So I get two vectors here. This is called IW or IC. This is called IM or I mu. Okay. This is loss component. This is magnetizing component. This we know. Okay. Loss, any current that is in phase with the voltage is the current that is creating losses in the system. Please remember this. Okay. Any current that is in phase with the voltage, that current is creating losses in the system. Hence it is called loss current, loss component. The current that is exactly 90 degrees from the voltage is creating magnetization. Okay, that is called magnetizing current. And the flux that is created by any current will be always in phase with that current. Therefore the flux phi which is existing in the air gap will be in phase with the current I am. So only I told phi is the reference vector. Phi is the reference vector. Phi is not steady flux. Phi is an alternating flux. There is a rotating magnetic field in the induction motor. In this, it is a RMF, a rotating magnetic field. This rotating magnetic field is not only rotating with a magnitude equal to 3/2 phi m. It is also alternating in nature with angular velocity exactly equal to supply. Hence it is called synchronous quantity. Okay. So you can observe or you can imagine a sine wave existing in the air gap and also rotating in the air gap. That is the nature of RMF. Okay. So rotating magnetic field is not only rotating with a constant magnitude. That magnitude is what? 1.5 phi m. The maximum value of this is a resultant flux phi r. The maximum value is what? 1.5 phi m. And that is also alternating. Okay, it is also alternating. So you can imagine what is RMF is a sine wave rotating in air gap. that is RMF. Okay, so that flux phi is common between stator and rotor because it is linking to stator as well as rotor. So this flux phi is inducing an EMF in the stator E1. It is inducing an EMF in the stator E1 and an EMF in the rotor E2. Okay, where should be these placed? The phase angle of induced EMF electromagnetically is always lagging behind the flux by an angle 90 degrees. It is by nature. By nature, the induced EMF due to the flux phi will be always lagging behind the flux by an angle 90 degrees. So, this will be E1, this will be E2, or E2 and E1. Magnitudes may change. Okay. Now, when the current is drawn by the load, the current is drawn from the stator. Do you believe? Current is drawn from the stator. Now this current I, now I0 is the current drawn at no load. Now I will be seeing what is power factor of the cos phi naught? Cos phi naught is no load power factor of induction motor, and phi naught is nearly equal to 90. Therefore, cos phi naught is nearly equal to 0. Now got to know why one of the wattmeter will show negative? Because power factor at no load is nearly equal to 0. Okay, and we know that between 0 and 0.5 1 wattmeter shows negative. This is the reason why 1 wattmeter shows negative. Now what happens next? As I go on increasing the load on the induction motor, the current drawn by the supply starts increasing. Now this part of the circuit come into picture. Now this current is called I2 dash. I2 dash is this is I2, load current. At no load current is 0. As load increases, load current is drawn. As the load current requirement at the output starts increasing, current drawn by the stator starts increasing after I0. So the current that is drawn after I0 is called I2 dash, which is known as load component of primary current or stator current. Load component of stator current. Now this I2 dash will be against the inductive nature of the stator winding. Therefore, this I2 dash has to lag behind this E1 by some angle phi. This I2 dash has to lag behind this E1 by some angle phi. Now let us consider this is I2 dash. A small load is applied, a small load current is drawn. Okay. Now what is I1? This is I2, not I2 dash. Below the flux axis it is secondary, above the flux axis it is primary. That is rotor and stator. Okay. Now what is I1? Now I1 is equals to, this is I0. This is I1. Now I1 is equals to I0 plus I2 dash. Okay, see there is a node here. The no load circuit forms parallel to the supply. This is equivalent circuit. Hope you remember. Okay. So I1 equal to I0 plus I2 dash. Now what is I2 dash? What will be the nature of I2 dash? See, whatever the current requirement is there in the load, the same current has to be drawn from the source. So the magnitude of the current drawn by the source in stator is exactly equal to the magnitude of the current required in the rotor, but in opposite direction. To keep this flux phi constant, the current drawn I2 dash will be exactly equal to I2 but opposite to I2. Therefore, that vector I2 dash, okay, will be at an angle 180 degree with respect to I2. So this is I2 dash, which is equals to K into I2. Now I think you are remembering the transformer concepts. Okay. So I2 dash equals to K into I2. Now what is I1? What is the power factor of the induction motor? Power factor of induction motor is the cosine of angle between primary voltage and primary current. Power factor of the induction motor is the cosine of angle between primary voltage and primary current. When the induction motor was at no load, the primary current was only the no load current. Therefore, the power factor at no load is the cos of angle between supply voltage and the no load current, which was very nearly equals to 0. Hence, one of the wattmeter was showing negative, not 0, negative. Okay. Now add I2 dash and I0 vectorially. Now this is my I1. Okay. Let this be I1 with an angle. Okay. I will take this angle as phi 1. So what is cos phi 1 is equals to, or I can write phi 1 is lesser than phi 0. Okay, is it lesser? See, this is the angle between V1 and I0, which is phi 0. This is the angle between V1 and I1, which is phi 1 lesser than phi 0. So phi 1 is lesser than phi 0. Therefore, cos phi 1 is greater than cos phi 0. I have put some load, so power factor has increased from no load power factor. Okay. This is one condition. Next, what I will do, I will increase load further. Okay. I will increase this load further. See, the lagging angle between I2 and E2, okay, will not be different because the inductiveness of the winding is same. It is not changing. So the magnitude of I2 will increase. Now I will increase, let this be I2 new value of I2. And what about I2 dash? It will also increase. So my I2 dash will also increase to a magnitude equal to I2 new. So this is I2 dash new. Now what is I1 new? Sum of I0 and I2 dash new. Okay. So my I1 new will be what? I0 will be same. I0 will not change. It is no load current. Now this is I1 new. Now this is what? The angle phi 1 new. Now phi 1 new is greater than phi 1, which is greater than phi 0. Sorry, not greater, smaller. Smaller. See, this is the angle between V1 and I1, which is smaller than angle phi 1 between V1 and I1, and which is smaller than angle between V1 and I0. Therefore, cos phi new is greater than cos phi 1, which is greater than cos phi 0. So as the load on the motor goes on increasing, power factor of the motor also goes on increasing. So initially power factor was very near to 0 because the lagging angle between no load current and the supply voltage was nearly 90 degrees. Okay, which yielded the power factor nearly 0. Therefore, one of the wattmeter showed negative reading. Second case, as the load goes on increasing, my power factor, my secondary current goes on increasing. The angle between primary current, which is not no load anymore, it is no load plus some load current, will give a or will yield a phase angle between supply voltage and the primary current little bit lesser than the no load phase angle. Power factor will be more than no load power factor. As the load goes on increasing, if you go on increasing the load up to the rated speed, up to the rated current, power factor will also go on increasing, making every time the angle between supply voltage and the primary current lesser and lesser, giving us cos of that angle more and more. This is how power factor of induction motor improves as the load on the induction motor improves. Now how I will decide the load operating point of operating point of induction motor is, whenever I want to put any induction motor into service, I first study the load, what amount of load is to be served. As per that I will design the power output of the motor, and I try to keep that power output of the motor near to the maximum efficiency condition, where my iron losses and copper losses will be equal. That is, the load factor is kept such a way that the copper losses will be nearly kept equal to iron losses, where I can keep the efficiency of the machine, okay, near to the maximum efficiency. Okay, so when actually we design induction motor, okay, there are different conditions of designing induction motor. At first only I have to choose whether you want better efficiency or whether you want better power factor. Those may not be available with better values simultaneously. Okay, so first I have to choose for better efficient motor or better power factor motor. When you study design, you will get to know. Okay, possibly I will be taking that subject. I don't know what happens next, but that is how I decide the operating of the induction motor at any load point or at any load station. Okay, so this is all about operation of induction motor with its no load, with its load. So these many things you should be keeping in mind when you conduct one experiment. So experiment conduction is not simply coming to lab, taking readings, doing calculations, showing the results, getting graphs, getting signature and going out. That is too much mechanical work which you will be doing without investment of your knowledge, conceptual knowledge. So if you study one load test on induction motor, you should know these many things, which are everything linked. Okay, but what you people do when it is asked to write the theory of experiments in the records, you search for the title of the experiments in the textbooks, which you will hardly find for all the experiments. Very few experiments you will get, and you come up saying that, sir, only this much was available, 2 lines, 3 lines, half a paragraph was available in the textbook, we have produced the same. No, that is not the way how to write the theory of the experiments. Theory of the experiment should be written in your words which you have understood. If you don't, discuss with others. You will be having 1 week time. Discuss with others, your teachers, write that theory. Okay, so these are the things which you should know about induction motor performance when you study the load test of induction motor experiment. Okay, I hope that this session was useful and fruitful for you people in understanding the induction motor concepts. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can ask now quickly, or you can text me or mail me or call me anytime you need. Okay, any doubts in this discussion? You are listening attentively, or you simply have logged in and doing your business? Yeah, sometimes we do in the meetings like that only, so I asked. Yeah. Any doubts? Yeah, these all, and one more input from my side. Understanding the concepts in this way will help you largely in cracking the competitive exams. In competitive exams, you should be knowing the concepts in this way, with respect to equations, with respect to vectors. Okay, verbal explanation, even if you don't have much with your vocabulary, it's fine. But with respect to equations and with respect to vectors, if you know the understanding of the concepts very well, the easiness in cracking the competitive exams will be more. Okay, this is how the competitive exam coaching centers will teach the concepts. Okay, they don't give notes in a very elaboratively explanatory manner. Okay, they always talk with respect to equations, vectors, and operations. Okay, and variations of the parameters with respect to variations in each other. Okay, which greatly we will study in design. Okay, when we study design, you will understand all these variations. Any doubts? If no, then we will close. Any doubts? Actually, I planned for 1.5 hours. It took 1 hour 45 minutes. This is the reason why I don't go for PPTs. Okay, I am extremely uncomfortable with PPTs.